And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. In 1972, a committee polled the terrace community to evaluate the effectiveness of existing services. A compiled directory of services included special services to children, elderly, and handicapped, health education, recreational service clubs, and associations and churches. 2 years later, the Terrace District Community Service Society Incorporated. On today's Open Connection, we open our archives to bring you this story from 1988.
It's great. It's really great.
You like having a steady job?
Yes, I do. The atmosphere here is really excellent, and it's just great all over.
Before he got his job, Richard graduated, but not from a regular school. Rather, he's a trainee from a unique program in the Northwest, a job training program initiated and developed by the Terrace and District Community Services Society.
Good morning, Interconnect? Yes, it is.
An office building in downtown Terrace houses the offices and classrooms of Interconnect, a training and employment service that teaches people the basic skills required to find and keep a job. All the trainees at this program have had a poor work history, and all are on social assistance. It's a requirement. Project Interconnect is a program for those people not appropriate for less specialized training procedures.
The people here, you say they fall in between the cracks sort of thing. What does that mean?
If people have been unemployed for a long period of time or have never had a job, and as adults, you lose the skills that we, once again, as I said, take for granted. And then, of course, they're not eligible or able to succeed in any traditional employment training program because they lack some of the basic skills. This project picks up from that, and there's a large group of people in our community and within this region that fall into that category.
Project Interconnect trains an average of 5 people at a time, who before being admitted to the program are tested for levels of literacy and grade school achievement. An important screening criteria is long periods of unemployment, but more importantly, there must be the desire to change that situation.
Now you're going to do some more items by yourself, and remember to read all of your directions carefully.
The in-class portion of the training program runs anywhere between 26 weeks and a year, depending on the individual's progress. The students learn basic writing and mathematics skills to achieve a grade 8 level. The 3 R's are important, but they're only a part of the training program.
No, we only consider that about a third to half of the program to do the actual reading and mathematics skills. We also teach resume writing, job interview skills, what's expected of them in the workplace, how to get along with their coworkers, how to get along with their employer, and basic personal skills management so that they can integrate into the workforce.
The students spend much of their day working individually on computers at their own pace and on the particular subject they need upgrading on. There's not a set structure to the training program at Project Interconnect.
Not per se. We have a structure in the course of where we want everybody to have achieved a given level in both academics and skills training. Because everybody comes in on totally different skill levels, each person's program is tailored specifically for that trainee.
The computers are the teachers. The one instructor prefers to call himself a consultant, there if needed, but more as a source of inspiration rather than as a traditional blackboard style of teacher. That's the role the computer plays.
We feel that people learn better, probably more effectively with the computer. And it also frees me to where I can give more time in personal counseling. If I was just doing the standard classical schoolroom type instruction, the people would be back into the schoolroom where if they need academic upgrading, they probably didn't succeed in the first place. This gives them an alternate method of learning. With the computer, they get constant interaction with their instructor, which is a computer, and then I only have to interject to actually answer skills and communications with that particular instructor, so that I can work with one person on math 1 minute, another person on reading in a different minute, and the people have more flexibility in the units that they're studying.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. For most of the 1970s and 1980s, the floppy drive was the primary storage device for word processors and microcomputers. Since these machines had no hard drive, the OS was usually booted from one floppy disk, which was then removed and replaced by another one containing the application. Some machines you were using the 2-disk drives allowed the user to leave the OS in place and simply change the application disk as needed. You'll notice the 2-disk drive computer configuration on screen when we return to the archives.
Working on the computer lets the students learn at a speed that's comfortable for them, and the small class size allows for as much personal attention from the instructor as the students desire. Most are excited with the course and with their personal progress.
The best one I've ever seen. It's terrific. I mean, there's personal, he has time for you because there's only 5 students at a time. And you learn a lot faster with the machines, I find. I mean, I've learned more in 3 weeks than I've learned in my lifetime.
Just using these computers?
Just using the computers. Well, it's not only the computers. If I need Larry, he's there. I don't have to run around looking for him somewhere. He's there. I mean, you know, the man is either in his office or he's walking up the flat. He's always watching what you're doing.
But there's more to the Interconnect program than just learning basic academic skills on the computers. A great deal of emphasis is put on developing social skills. One-on-one personal interaction between the students and the instructor, and between the students themselves, is encouraged. Constructive criticism, coupled with encouragement and motivation, is as important as the basics of mathematics and writing.
Most of them show a noted increase in their life skills management. Everything from home budgeting to how to get along with people, how to analyze what behaviors they have that maybe has gotten in the way of achieving success in the past, and how to go about achieving success in the future.
That's what makes the whole picture. A person's ability to function in their own life, within their own circle, and within their own community. And people who lack self-esteem, or that part has been diminished because they haven't been employed or because they've been unsuccessful at any attempt that they've ever made, that's a main contributing factor to why people are unemployed.
While the instructor is important in being a source of positive reinforcement and encouragement, the real motivation has to come from the student. They have to really want to be in the program and to later get a job. The federally funded program provides no immediate financial incentives. The students are not paid to be here.
You don't get a dime. It's good. I don't have anything against that. I know people would argue with me about it, but the thing of it is I think it gives you more motivation to do something rather than sit on your butt and put in time. This is what I find with this here, anyhow. And I know I got a lot out of it. I'm getting a lot out of it. I mean, I never did fractions, you know. And hey, you know, I'm doing them, and it means something to me.
We don't pay you to come to this project, so they need that motivation. That yes, I truly want a job. I want to learn whatever it is I need to learn. And the people that come here, definitely that's the highest thing in their mind is I really want to get out and I want to work and be self-supporting. And so that's what drives them and keeps them here for the length of time that they need to be to get that job and to be successful.
You know, you're in here and you kind of work a lot on your own, but you still have to meet the criteria and the basics.
There's discipline too. I mean, he lays down the law when you come in here. This is the way it's got to be. You got to be here by time. If you're not going to come in to work, you phone. And if you don't phone before 9:30, that's it. You lost a day. So it's treated the same way as a job, and I think that really pays off. And then another thing is a really good thing is they place you. They place you in a place to work. And that's good. I mean, you don't get no grandeurs of a great salary or anything, but you get a job. And it sure beats human resources. And I've been on them for 5 years, I know.
Getting a job is the bottom line of the Interconnect program, and when the graduates are ready to tackle a real-life employment situation, they take with them a new set of life skills and confidence and self-worth. For most, there's a big difference between the person who entered the program and the person who's leaving it.
Oh, very much so. It's really remarkable to watch someone who comes in and barely makes eye contact or feels that they haven't been a worthwhile contributor. And after they're finished or been here just a few weeks, there's quite a remarkable difference in them.
When the students have finished the classroom portion of their training program, they prepare to enter the workforce. A resume package is put together to introduce themselves to prospective employers. The employers, of course, provide the final crucial link in the Interconnect training chain. On a trial basis, interested employers take on graduates of the program for several weeks, providing a real work experience for the trainees. It gives both the employer and the worker a chance to evaluate each other.
Well, it's certainly been very positive. What we do is when we first meet with the employer is, like I say, go through a training program and determine exactly what they need. And then they actually have the trainees for a period of time to see if in fact they will work out in the work situation. That gives the employee a chance to ascertain the skill level of the trainee and to find out if they're suitable. It also gives the trainee a chance to say, hey, is this job really for me? If the two matches up and the employer would like to keep him on, then he does so, and we can provide wage subsidies or whatever. But the response has been very positive. So they're not only just hiring them on for the sake of hiring them on and giving somebody a chance, but they're really actually doing work, contributing to the overall efforts of the company, and being very productive.
We developed, I think, the project at a good time, and not that we had any inside information, but the economy is sort of getting conservatively well again, and people are employing or considering employing people or adding to their present workforce. So it's made the whole environment quite productive for us at this time.
Very successful, yes. We have a catalog now of people who have expressed interest, and just because we didn't have the proper people for the type of person that they were looking for. So we have an excess of actual employers over trainees, and that's good.
In the 7 months since the Interconnect program got started in Terrace, 8 graduates have found a job in the workforce. For Lita, as with others, getting a steady job is an important achievement in her life. She's working in a bookstore. It's the very first job she's ever had.
I really like it. When I first started, I was really shy, but now I'm beginning to be open, dealing with the customers. I really like it.
Rick has had jobs before, but never in the building industry, a field he's very interested in. He's now working with a construction firm as a carpenter's helper. Along with his laboring duties, Rick has been given tasks of greater responsibility, such as delivering important tender documents. It gives him a real sense of importance and worth.
I get around the truck a lot too. I do a lot of errands for them too. I went to Kitimat and I brought them a contract to Alcan and went up to Smithers for a new pub they're building up in Hailston, and they're doing the biddings out there, and they just take me. I run errands for them, for the bids and stuff.
At an automobile dealership, Oliver has won a position on the lot, cleaning the vehicles. He works hard at his job, and the employer says he does a fine job. Besides the paycheck and self-satisfaction that go with the work, Oliver says there's other perks as well.
I get to drive those, those fancy cars. And
pretty good, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I like it here.
So you think you'll stick around for a while?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Founded by Frederick Seagrave of Detroit, Michigan in 1881, Seagrave is the oldest manufacturer of fire apparatus in the United States. Today, Seagrave produces a comprehensive range of custom apparatus, including pumpers, pumper tankers, and aerial platforms, to name a few. Let us return to the archives to bring you this story from 1988.
Prince Rupert was one of the first motorized fire halls. I believe Vancouver and Kamloops beat us out, but we beat Toronto. Toronto were still, as a matter of fact, they took the original for a demonstration ride, and that's the one that we got. That was our #1 truck, which was a Seagrave. It was a 1911, we got that one. The first, actually, fire equipment we ever had was a hose reel, and it was in 1908. was our volunteer hall at that time. It wasn't until 1910, 1911 that we got a regular fire hall started. The truck as such is in such...
Hadland has worked to help preserve Prince Rupert Fire Department history for several years now. Back in February of 1986, Skeena Journal talked to Brian shortly after the Rio was rescued from its bushy grave on Porcher Island.
We have a 1925 Rio fire truck that was put into service in April of 1924 in Rupert, and was here and up to 1950 where it was replaced and was sold. And a fellow in Una River, which is on Porcher Island, bought it for a dump truck for servicing their little highway on Una River. It was brought down to the dry dock. It was driven down to the dry dock, the old dry dock site on the waterfront. And they had a big steam crane, and they lifted it up with a steam crane and lowered it onto the boat, the Anna 1, which was a packer, and it just straddled the sides of the rails. And they had quite a time getting it over there. They just about lost it on one occasion with rough seas. And from there, I guess they planked it up somehow and drove it down off the planks onto the dock and took it up onto their little highway. And from there, it finally went into a resting place in the salmonberry bushes. Wayne Harrison, our fire chief, remembered it going over there, so I got in touch with Freddie Letts, who lives over in Una River, and he said yes, it was still there, but it was in really rough shape. So we decided, well, rough shape or not, it was the only past fire truck that we still have in existence. Most of them went to the wrecking yard or to the garbage dump and were buried, so this is the only one we have that it was actually still remaining above ground.
But recovering the truck from the salmonberry bushes wasn't going to be easy. It took the cooperation of several island residents, along with about a half-dozen firefighters, to get the truck back to Rupert.
And when we did find it, we didn't even know it was a fire truck. It just looked like a lump of metal sticking out of the trees. So when we first spotted it, all we could see was the fuel tank. And then we started pulling the bush away. You could actually see the dashboard and the engine, and then the wooden spoke wheels were still intact, which was really great. And as we hauled it out of the bush, there was just the one wheel that was actually broken.
But after years of neglect in the bushes of Porcher Island, the Rio looked like anything but a racy red fire engine. It had been in service as either a fire truck or a sanding truck for over 30 years. How long it had been in the bushes was unknown. Hadland and the rest of the Fire Museum Society had a huge task ahead of them. The truck had to be built virtually from scratch. Along with 63 local individuals and businesses who had committed to help with the 5-year project, Hadland still had one major worry: the motor.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Ransom E. Olds was an entrepreneur who founded multiple companies in the automobile industry. In 1897, Olds founded Oldsmobile. In 1905, Olds left Oldsmobile and established a new company, Rio Motor Car Company. In this final segment of Open Connection, Brian and Hagelin share some of the challenges in rebuilding a Rio motor.
Rio had their own motor company, and their engine is so different in comparison to like General Motors or Ford. It's a quite a bit heavier engine, a lot more casting, which makes it really difficult to try and replace it. The only way I can see it is to get a Rio. Otherwise, this little GM, it's a lot smaller, but it had the same horsepower. And the Rio had a few unique features, such as the oil dipstick had a gauge on it. There was a dial that moved to show it was full level or whatever. And the heavy cast cylinders are just monstrosities compared to a GM. So it would be hard to replace.
But this project didn't take 5 years. It's only 18 months later, and the Rio is about to go into the body shop for its $4,000 paint job. And what about that hard-to-get Rio engine?
The parts that were really hard to get were the engine, because the engine is very old, and we've made the engine up of 3 different engines. One is from the original, one is from Chatham, Ontario, and the other half is from the Transport Museum in Vancouver. And with the help of the Rio Club of America, who gave us names and addresses, we were able to put her together.
So how true is it to the original engine?
It's all original engine, except that the back cylinders are 1914 and the rest are all 1924 and a half. The rims, the outside rims, the silver part of the rims, had to be made because we couldn't obtain the original rims. They're just unable to get them anymore. The wooden spoke wheels were still all there and intact, so we've used them. But the outer rim were built by local Marinix in Prince Rupert. And they did an excellent job of copying the old rim. It was all rusted away.
And once the project's all finished, you hope to use the fire truck in what sort of purposes?
For advertising, for the different companies that have contributed to the parades and trade fairs, and just as an all-around display of Prince Rupert Fire Museum Society.
But this fire truck didn't even wait until it was painted before it became a big TV star in commercials, along with its smaller counterpart, 911. But when the truck was finally unveiled, it was quite the coming-out party. At the annual Prince Rupert Trade Fair, a ribbon was cut to represent the end of the restoration project. Hadland says the fire department's display took home first prize at the fair, something he says the Rio can take credit for. Shortly after the trade fair, the Rio's first big test, the annual Seafest parade. He says the truck handled the parade beautifully with just a little bit of clutch burning. The Prince Rupert Rio is just one of 6 Speedwagon models known to the Rio Club of America. Hadland says it can reach speeds of up to 60 kilometers an hour as long as there is a good tailwind. He says it has incredibly good low-end torque and is very solid. He also says the truck is very close to its original condition.
Another headlight lens to match the original. We've got one coming from the States. And the Rio motometer, which is fitted on top of the radiator cap, showed the temperature of the water. Those are the only 2 things that we're waiting for. In our future, we'd like to get a building to store it in, or do a replica of the old fire hall that used to be on Fulton Street, with the bell tower and everything, to correspond with our museum that we've started. But for the time being, I think just getting a shelter, a glass shelter, would be just fine, just to show it off after 63 different people have helped us as far as labor or machining or just monies to help restore the Rio. I think it should be displayed.
What are your feelings right now?
I'm pretty proud, yeah.
Was it worth all the effort?
It was worth it, yes. We've got a little bit of Prince Rupert history restored in the fire hall, which lacking morale, and this has picked up our morale in the hall, and the guys are pretty proud.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.